You just pressed play on the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. We're here to entertain, educate, and engage. And in case you didn't know, you only live once. But if you do it right, once is enough. Don't waste it. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode number 114 of the Last Breath Huntcast, home of the Huntroversy. And this episode is, as always, presented by our title sponsor, which is Badlands Gear. Anything off site-wide, 30% off. You can get it. All you need to do is hop into our Facebook group, which is called the Last Breath Inner Circle. We will hook you up with that code, and you can be getting anything from bino harnesses, gun scope covers, gaiters, jackets, bibs, beanies, anything that you want, they got it, including packs, tents if you're a western guy and gonna pack up to go hunting out west, or just backpack camping like I do every summer. I just have ordered one of their tents a couple weeks ago. It's called the Artemis 2-Man, and my wife and I are gonna go stay in that in Wyoming in the backcountry for about 10 days this summer on our fly fishing trip. So that's gonna be awesome. Really proud to be working with them. They make some very, very nice whitetail gear. Anything to get you into whitetails or anything out west is just their bread and butter. They do a great job, and anything that's Badlands Gear related comes with that lifetime warranty. This podcast is also presented by Outdoor Edge Knives and Gear, so we have a nice discount code through them as well. 25% off site-wide using the code LBTV25, all uppercase with 25 at the end there. Gets you into anything from a gut hook to a sweeping gut hook, to a fillet knife, to a fillet knife set, to a butchering kit. Anything that you want cutlery and processing related, they have. Another partner that we have that's jumping on the bandwagon, and since we are about into the time when we're going to be laying out some mock scrapes, you're going to definitely want to pay attention to this next one. So the code LASTBREATH20CB, that will get you 20% off anything site-wide from Code Blue. So we're talking about Gravedigger right now. That is the product that we've used to kill. I don't even know how many patterned bucks we've had with that and how many deer we've shot over the scrape in the last 8 or 10 years, but it's been an absolute crap load. The very first product that Code Blue launched about 14 years ago when they launched Gravedigger, it actually used to come in a little vacuum-sealed baggie. It kind of looked like a vacuum-sealed, pound or so, if you have ever sealed anything with the food saver, with a little piece of graphic on the outside of it for the packaging, and it was about $7 or $8 back in the time. And Garrett and I actually used that to shoot, I think, our second buck that we've ever shot together came off of a mock scrape using some Gravedigger when it was just in the inception phase, right when Code Blue launched it over a decade ago. So that's a really cool product. And again, the code LASTBREATH20CB, that'll get you 20% off site-wide of Code Blue. So we're going to be ordering some Gravedigger up here really soon to use in all of our mock scrapes. We use an absolute crap load of that every single fall, and it works great. Underwarmer is another partner of this podcast. So it's a heated base layer system. You can wear it next to skin. You can wear it over a garment. It's very economical. So if you want to check those guys out, just give them a sniff. I mean, $8 to $12 is what you guys are going to spend at Walmart. Buy one or two of them. Wear it underneath your jacket and just see what results you get. I promise that you're going to be blown away by the amount of safe heat that it's going to give. It's not going to burn your skin, but it's going to be warm enough where, like I did last year, Austin and I, my buddy, went out coyote hunting, and it was 0 degrees when I was field testing these. It was 0 degrees. I wore that and a thin base layer and my pyre jacket over the top of it, and I was warm, and we were out in those conditions. We did about 10 sits that day, and we were out in the conditions, out in the elements for about 9 hours, and it started below zero at sunrise. So that's a great product. Finally, Moultrie has dropped their new cellular trail camera, the Delta Cam. That is a really well-built camera. We have 32 of them running as a team right now, and they are awesome. So check us out on YouTube if you haven't already subscribed. You can listen to a brand new podcast every single Monday at 6 o'clock a.m. And our topic for today, like we were going to know earlier, is who is one of the main guys behind the curtain at Midwest Whitetail's Chasing November. And we're going to go ahead and introduce somebody you maybe don't know yet. named Max Mongrello.
Hello.
Okay, we got Max Mongrello on the line. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm tip-top. I'm ready to talk some production, some whitetails with you, and just about how the heck you came to arrive in the Midwest, which I don't think a whole lot of people know that you're not from here originally. So I think that that is really cool that you took the dive, and what I consider to be a pretty ballsy move, moving to the Midwest. And so before I get into it, I said your name briefly at the beginning there, but why don't you describe to people who you are and what you do full time, because it's awesome.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, my name is Max Mongrello. I am 24 years old currently. I am a full-time videographer slash producer for a company called 41 North Media Production. And I guess you'd say our title, our headline, our claim to fame is that we own, as a company, we own Midwest Whitetail. That is our cream of the crop. That's our claim to fame right there. So I'm a full-time videographer and producer, and Midwest Whitetail takes up most of my time.
And you also have a bunch of extra series that you guys do. So 41 North Media is kind of a company in which you guys wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things. So I know about a couple of your side projects that you work on, but why don't you name drop a couple of those other than the obvious Chasing November? You were all over the Midwest last year doing a bunch of projects, you personally editing a bunch of projects. So why don't you explain what those are as well?
Yeah, sure thing. So 41 North Media as a company, we are only 3 deep at the moment. We were at 5, and then I've had a couple of people bounce around, so we are 3 full-time employees deep. But for just that small group, we have a ton of projects under our belt, like you said. Inside the hunting industry, we've got things like last year, as you kind of mentioned, I was with Jeff and David Lindsay from about early October all the way through the end of January on the road with those guys, filming and producing and kind of helping them kickstart a digital brand. So we started with them on YouTube and Mossy Oak Go, getting their kind of digital platforms caught up to speed, I would say, with the rest of the industry. So that was a lot of fun. Really cool having a blank slate per se, being the main producer of something like the Lindsay Way Digital. It was awesome, and it was kind of my baby and my choice to run whatever direction I felt necessary. So that was a lot of fun. We did last year. We had all the production for Realtree Road Trips, which is now that used to be a television show, as a lot of people are familiar with Michael Waddell, but since the last few years that's come off of television. Now it's digital. So last year we kickstarted that for them, for Realtree. Man, the list is deep. I mean, I've been doing this for a couple years, and we can get into that, but I've produced another couple shows for Realtree, like the Pay Dirt series, which is a really cool land management series that I've been behind the production side on. 41 North, we also had Federal Premium's Black Cloud that actually my roommate was in charge of last year. We have a long-standing relationship with Cabela's with some shows like Whitetail Season, as well as Cabela's Turkey Roost that's also digital. So the list is kind of, I mean, we could sit here and talk the list forever, but I would say that we have a ton of stuff under our belt, and have kind of migrated now to the ownership of Midwest Whitetail, and that kind of has engulfed the full-time guys, which, as it probably should. It's a very reputable brand, a great group of people, and so we've kind of stepped away or handed off some of these other projects in the last year or two in an effort to grow our personal brand. So if you digital, like I said, is our claim to fame. Everything digital, that's just where we fall right in line. So you name it, we've most likely worked on it or worked beside it.
That's awesome. And talking about Midwest Whitetail particularly, it takes so many people to make that thing run. The depth of the episodes. I mean, when you're watching a Midwest Whitetail show digitally, you're getting, somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes of content. all the trail camera videos that accompany that, all the drone shots, all the aerial shots of the properties you guys are hunting, all of the storylines, the B-roll, the interviews, the audio, the kill, the post-harvest pictures. I mean, you're getting all of that, and it's just, I found a really deep digital show, and you guys don't really leave any stone unturned, in my opinion, which is incredible. And I had a question for you, because I don't really know the answer to it. I think maybe one's Grant Noble, just kind of by process of elimination, but the 3 full-timers at 41 North Media Max, it's yourself, and who are the names of the other 2 guys?
Right now it is myself. It'd be Grant Noble.
Yep.
Who is actually in the same intern class, the intern class of 2019 alongside me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jared Mills, who is one of the main faces of the show, but behind the scenes, Jared's not a professional hunter, as an unpopular opinion. I know he'd probably love to be, but he's actually the manager of 41 North Media Production. So Jared's behind the scene role as a career as our production manager. So at the moment we are 3 deep. We've had a couple of really awesome people come and go and choose some different avenues, but at the moment that's what we got. And then we also, like I kind of alluded to, we do have an intern class every year. So right now we have the class of 2021. There are 6 of them that are working alongside us right now that are really doing awesome. They're a lot of help. So technically, I guess if there are 3 full-time salaried employees, and then right now there are 6 interns that'll be with us all the way through the end of January, all the way through the end of the season.
That's awesome. It's like I said, it's got to take so much man-hour, so much manpower to make that thing churn, and to take on the amount of clients you guys are taking on, the projects, the quality of the projects that you guys are producing. Like you said, I mean, the Lindsay Way, you guys are working with some big-name players. Realtree Road Trips, another huge name, and the fact that you guys are taking that, putting it all under your belt during crunch time, and, kicking out that semi-live series is absolutely incredible. So basically, Max, what I was wondering when I messaged you the other day was, I picked my top 3 digital shows, which I really like the Rise Hunt. I really like Chase Nation with Sam Ubel, and I just love your brand as well, Midwest Whitetail Chasing November. But the most unique thing about you, personally, as a person, I thought it's just fascinating. Anytime I hear of somebody just making a big move to the Midwest, I think that's pretty interesting. So why don't you tell people the story of how the heck you even got up here in the first place, and what kind of career path you took and what avenues you kind of walked down to get to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, it probably starts, as most people I would imagine or assume in the hunting industry, at least the ones I'm familiar with and talk to, a lot of where our career fall into relates back to the passion for hunting. And so mine began honestly, a little bit later than most. A lot of people, and I'm a little bit different in this area, that a lot of people come from a hunting family background or an outdoors family background, which is far from where I came from. I don't have, as far as I know, even at least in the immediate family, I don't have any other hunters in my family. So I picked it up kind of in my teenage years. My parents split when I was I was probably 10 years old. And then my mom and my older brother and I moved to a new house around that time that just happened to back up to a little bit of acreage, which in the end ended up being some pretty prime hunting ground. But I was a big sports guy. I played every sport you could name and loved them all. But for some reason, I guess it was just born with this curiosity or this drive to learn and understand the outdoors. Loved to fish growing up, and so started with that. Had a couple of ponds I could get around and fish on. My mom, being a real estate agent, could score me a lot of pretty cool places to fish. If you had it under contract, I would tag along. I loved tagging along to a lot of our first meetups or these open houses. If they had a pond anywhere nearby, I sat on it all day. So like I said, my parents split. We moved to a new house that backed up some acreage, and then that kick-started my desire to learn how to hunt. I don't know why I was so infatuated with it. I had a couple of really close friends early in life that their families into it, and all they talked about every Monday was their hunts over the weekend, and it drove me insane. It just killed me. So Probably around 12 or 13. I didn't really care that much about gun hunting, crazy enough, but got my first bow probably the age of 12 or 13. And boy, is that a struggle. I mean, I had a local archery shop that could help me set it up and maybe give me some tips, but as far as bow hunting came, it was about as tough of a few year struggle as you could imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
sitting on the ground up next to a tree, getting blown out of the woods every day, but that quickly, luckily I came up at just the right time. I feel like a period in history where digital was really taking off. The information blow up on the internet was just huge right around that time. Perfect. The first few hunting shows, including Midwest Whitetail, had just come to the front lines, and I was really at a place where I could just eat it up. Had a lot of time on my hands, obviously, at that age.
Yeah.
So quickly learned some of what I was doing, and then finally kind of got set loose at as most people's age of 16, got a driver's license, and then it just went bonkers.
Mm-hmm.
I reeled back a lot of the sports drives I had. I quit football. Any other sport that held me off. I still played golf through the spring, but in the fall it was just hunting time. So that bled all the way through college. I attended Kennesaw State University. That's just right there on the north side of Atlanta.
Okay.
About an hour from where I grew up. Hunted my way all through college, and then got a job, an awesome job. I worked at a store called Academy Sports and Outdoors. It's very similar to a Cabela's or a Shields, but it's kind of like the big name right now in the southeast at least. So
I've heard of that. Yeah.
Was working in the hunting and fishing department and firearms department there, which was just an incredible job. So going through there, I was in business school at the same time, and then kind of hit a wall. I was my senior year of college and business school was just a few short months away from walking across the stage. And it kind of all at once hit me. I had talked to a couple of my supervisors about going corporate because I love the hunting industry side. I even still love the sales product side. It's awesome. You meet a lot of great people. You get to talk hunting at least every day. But something about maybe the 9 to 5 part of that I just wasn't about it. So I finally ended up hearing, or most people that at least that watch Midwest Whitetail are very familiar with the word, at least intern, or the term intern is thrown around a ton.
Yeah.
So I kind of did a little research on that, found out that they do run an internship program. And so with just a couple of months left in school, I applied thinking, man, maybe this is it. I had just no clue what I was doing. I mean, I had very little camera experience and even less than that editing experience. I mean, I'd never once opened any kind of editing software. Had a GoPro, but nothing more than that. And so somehow or another, maybe it was a mistake, but I got into the interview process and just had a chance really to kind of explain my desire, or maybe even my frustrations or questioning of what stage of life I was about to enter. And I think it kind of hit home with a couple of people, especially Jared. I think my resume at the time had proved that I was a diligent worker and I could learn tasks. And so more or less, I believe they just took a risk and they said, man, we'll give this kid a shot. He seems like he doesn't really know what he wants to do. Seems like he might be able to figure this out. So they gave me a shot. And that was when my whole world turned around. I uprooted for that 6-month period, moving from central Georgia all the way up to southeast Iowa. It's like about a 14-hour drive, and packed my little Tacoma down with the essentials and headed out. And like I said, that's when everything just went crazy. I really learned how fulfilling very quickly this career can be. Obviously, I learned how much work it can take, especially working on the semi-live digital side of the industry. But
yeah,
man, I'm almost immediately, I bet within a month in, I was very confident this is where I wanted to pursue a career in. And so that as anyone, freshly into something, with the opportunities almost endless, with the connections that Jared and Bill at the time had. The internship program is very reputable. They have a incredible placement rate. I mean, I would be willing to say that for the people they are willing to back, whether it be a recommendation or whatnot, I mean, I'd say the placement rate's 100%. So I knew what was ahead of me, and all I really kind of had to do was eat it up and learn as much as I could. And so by the end of that that January, Jared and the owners of 41 North decided to hire me on full time. So crazy, absolutely nuts to think about. But that's been I'm going on my third year, so it's actually funny. I haven't really thought about it in a while, but it's going on 3 years.
So you totally took the gamble, and I think that's the coolest thing about you is, you hear about these stories of people, ditching their day jobs per se and just going for something that is a passion of theirs and what they really enjoy doing, what they really love. And I think that's one of my favorite things about your story is that you completely uprooted yourself and were like, you know what? This is what I want to do. I'm going to take a shot. I'm going to take a risk. I'm going to move across the country to, if you're not a whitetail hunter, arguably one of the most boring states there is in Iowa. If you're not if you're not a hunter, there's not a whole lot to do in Iowa.
Yeah,
and so
it's pretty cool. My first week in the area was like, I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, there's the town of Riverside, Iowa that I relocated to. I went from a decent sized town, only a 20-minute drive from Atlanta Motor Speedway, only a 45-minute drive from downtown Atlanta, moving to a place that has 2 restaurants, one Mexican joint, one American restaurant, and 1 gas station.
Yeah.
And I'm surrounded by corn on 4 sides, so that was quite the shock to move, to uproot. But like I said, very quickly you realize if you're going to be about it or not. It doesn't take somebody very long to figure it out, and I kind of realized this could easily be home for me.
Sure. What do you think was the most worrisome part of that for you? Was there ever any indication in your mind like, this might not work out? Or, for some of those people that are listening to this right now, considering a career change or considering a big move like that, what kind of advice would you give throughout that process? Did you learn anything interesting as you were kind of going all about this?
Yeah, I definitely had my hesitations at first. I wasn't a manager at the time at Academy Sports, but I had what I would say is a pretty solid potential at making some really good money in corporate or even as like a store manager,
Mm-hmm.
And so leaving, once I actually decided to take the internship, that was one of the scariest things, was leaving such solid career potential for something I had potentially was not a career, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
turn into a career. So,
yeah.
I think there's a lot of people, I've seen them now. This is my second intern class that I've seen come through, and I don't think there's every story is similar with that it's like a lot of the young guys I see are coming, just like myself, coming out of college or even some coming out of high school. And it is a risk, but I have yet to talk to anybody that regretted it. It just seems like when you're talking about something as serious as a career choice, and I have a lot of people to thank for encouraging me to take the jump, but when you're talking about something as serious as a career, and especially in the day and age that we live in, where it feels like there's it's a lot easier now to jump careers than I feel like it ever used to be. And if you had a certain job by trade 20, 30 years ago, that was kind of it. You locked in from 25 to 60, but it feels like that's not the same anymore. So although it is a risk, I would encourage anybody thinking about it that if you really have even more than half certainty that it could really be a career, you just got to take that risk. You'll figure out, like I said, it doesn't take you. You don't have to go work 5 years to figure out if it's right or not. You learn very quickly. But man, I just think about all the time. What would have come of it if I stayed? I'm sure have a good job. I'm sure I've made some new friends or whatnot. But man, I just could not imagine that it was just the simple choice of diving in, and then the difference of where that could have been to where I am now is incredible. And I think a lot of the only other advice I may have to offer, and it's specific to my situation with no experience, is that you really don't need it if you have the work ethic. I remember once the interview process ended for my intern class, there were 6 of us selected that year to come out and give it a shot. And I remember once we got that final list, I remember kind of scouting out the talent, and I was just like, oh, dude, I'm screwed. Grant, who now works alongside me, is some people just have that eye, that he's a phenomenal photographer and still is, just has that eye for that shot. And another, there's 2 or 3 more in that group that even like coming out of high school, a couple of them coming right out of high school had pretty impressive resumes as far as the production side goes. I mean, I didn't even have enough footage anywhere to put together like a reel. I mean, I just had to send in and out clips. Like, it was terrible.
Sure.
I still wonder how in the world I made it through the interview process and here decided that I'd be a good fit. But really, for anybody without the experience, it's a lot easier than you would think to gain experience. There's programs out there, even in high school and college, where you're part of, whether it's your yearbook club or even local production companies in the neighborhood, where you can gain experience and you can gain it very quickly. The learning curve of editing and production is insane. I mean, you can go from no skill or knowledge at all to something usable very quickly. So with not having experience is not a deal breaker. In my case, it wasn't. And as far as I've seen, another 20 or 30, it's just like me. It was never the deal breaker, as long as you compare it with that work ethic and the desire to get better.
That's a great piece of advice, dude. I totally agree. I think that lots of colleges, I think one of the biggest things that, a college professor will never tell you is that most of that stuff, most of the skills that you acquire in your career path, whatever you choose, are really on-the-job training, just like trade school or anything like that. It's on-the-job training. It's like trial by fire. You're not going to get necessarily better at it until you just do it for yourself. And I think that editing is certainly one of those things where it's just like, all right, here's some footage. I'm going to dump it into the bin. You go ahead and create a timeline and you just do it. And for the first several times, it's probably going to be pretty bad, but continuously you're going to do it more and more and more. You're going to figure out numerous tricks, how to fix audio, how to pouch some jumpy video, what some slick little clips are you can roll through a transition, and bada bing, bada boom, here you are cutting up a show, So I do think you're right. The learning curve is quite fast when it comes to editing and production, and I think a lot of people are capable of doing it. They just don't know where to start, so it seems daunting at first. So kind of going into your show now, Max, I kind of know the angle, but for anybody that doesn't, what is the angle of Chasing November by Midwest Whitetail? It's a very different show than the ones, digitally being produced right now. And what can viewers kind of tend to expect when they watch a Midwest Whitetail production, something that 41 North has put their hands on?
Yeah, sure thing. So first off, Midwest Whitetail has several sub-productions fall under that name. There's the daily blog series. There's that weekly episode, which is kind of best described as maybe a highlight of the week's events.
Yep.
That also that same weekly episode takes us to the off season, where there's a lot of habitat improvement. And then Chasing November is a very, very different series all in all. So maybe I can give a brief description of each one and try to tie it in. So the daily blog series is I almost want to describe it as something different than semi-live, because some people consider semi-live maybe that week. This is as close to live as you can possibly get, because the only thing holding us back is how many hours does it take you to put that blog together. I mean, the best way I can describe it is if Jared's out, or if I'm out tonight hunting right now, by 6, 7 a.m. the next morning, that episode is live. You're watching that next morning, or sometimes even that night, what just happened within just a few hours ago. So the daily blog series is extremely popular and extremely valuable. From a viewership side, it's extremely tough work, hard work on the editing side, the production side, because you're talking about videoing an afternoon hunt and pretty much grinding it out all night to get it through. But from a viewership side, extremely valuable, because you're keeping up with current deer habits of, especially if you're in the Midwest, it's extremely valuable, because most of these blog series take place right here in Iowa. So if you're wanting to know what the deer are doing, there's no better information than what happened last night.
Yeah, Yeah.
So that's one of our more popular, and a lot of great feedback on that. But that one probably takes the most work on the daily effort. But then we have our weekly series that it runs every Monday morning is when we release that one. From the off season, we kicked that one off. I guess the season or the year starts right there in February with habitat improvement, shed hunting, a lot of awesome tips and tricks throughout every week, and food plot design, a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And then obviously now we're transitioning into running a lot of trail cameras and stuff like that. So that's what gets us through. And then once the season opens up, or once we got guys out hunting, we'll transition that weekly episode into one where it's more or less the highlight of all those blog series compiled into one 20 to, like you said, 20 to 40-minute episode. So those are like every Monday morning we get a little more time on that one on the production side. So it's usually a little bit more high quality. But it's a lot of times, like I said, the best way to describe it is the week's highlight in chronological order. So that one's a really fun one. It's like, I guess the best way to describe it is a little more high quality compilation of those blogs. So that's one of them. And the last one you mentioned is Chasing November. That is a series that is produced on our end in the off season, and that is a chronological, almost dramatic type series that is a compilation of not only the main cast between me, Grant, Jared, Mike, some of these other guys, but that also includes our regional staff.
Mm-hmm.
So Midwest Whitetail encompasses not only the main cast, but we also have 6 regional productions that have pro staff that right now, I think we're over 200 guys deep. So there's 6 regions all throughout the country, all throughout the U.S. that also are sending us footage in. Yeah, so right now Grant and I were just updating some of the contact info on the list this morning. I think we're over 200 right now. So you got the Southeast region, which is all those guys, Georgia, Tennessee, Kentucky falls in there,
mm-hmm.
Carolinas. Then you've got the East region, more of the Northeast region. You got a lot of guys in Maryland, New York, up there in that region. Then you've got the Midwest guys that are not quite on the main cast, but this is the Heartland region,
mm-hmm.
Illinois, Iowa. You've got the Great Plains show out there, the Great Lakes show, and the Outreach show. So you got 6 regions that pretty much covers. We don't have anybody that far any more west of us here in the country, but as far as anywhere back east, north, and south of here, we got guys there. So that's a really cool factor about Midwest Whitetail as a brand. That's really cool. Those shows and the regional shows, I should have mentioned, they come out weekly as well during the hunting season. So we'll kick those off actually next week. We're working on them right now.
Mm-hmm.
And those will be weekly releases in a similar style format to the daily blogs, where you're catching up on some pretty cool content. There's a lot of guys, so you may see 6 to 8 hunts in one episode, and from all those states in that region. So you get a really good feel for deer moving, and just a lot of cool stories told on there, basically. So that's that. And back to Chasing November. Like I said, that's a chronological, most dramatic type production that takes place, which is really cool. It's our highest end production by far.
Yeah.
And that series, there's usually somewhere between 23 and 24 episodes that start all the way in chronological order, kicking off with the guys that are in Kentucky hunting. And so it's really cool to follow that series. Josh Sparks has been the producer of that series for, I think this was his 4th year, 3rd or 4th year, and does an incredible job on that one. It's so cool to watch that series.
Oh, yeah.
Not only from a production side, all of us getting to watch him put it together. I mean, it's maddening, all the footage. You're talking
sick amount of footage.
210 guys hunts for the entire year. But it's so cool to watch it fall together, because you're looking at, Mike may be here in Iowa November 8th having a sweet hunt, but then there's guys in Kentucky just with the same action. It's across the country, so it's epic. It's an awesome series. It really just kind of takes you through the progression of a season. Like I said, that's got to be probably a fan favorite there. So it's not in that live or semi-live format, but but it's a fun one, and it's always fun. We always try to drop that one the first week of August. So we just dropped season 6 here a couple weeks ago, and you want to talk about a great teaser or pump up for everybody getting in the whitetail mode. I mean, I've seen all those hunts 50 times, but every time I watch an episode, it's like, holy cow, it's go time.
Absolutely. Your episode too, nice shot. That was a sweet deer. went right down and tipped over in that field. I was pretty pumped when I saw that one. So
yeah, it was a fun one. That's a lot of pieces together going into that one. That's like my first. Was fortunate enough to take a deer, a pretty nice buck my intern year, but wasn't the best footage. It was a little late, and I didn't really have a story going or anything like that. So it was really cool to have some pretty good footage of one and kind of a story around last year's kill. And that's my biggest deer to date now. So man, that was awesome. I look at that deer, it sits just behind my desk. So every time I get up or got to do something, I get to look at that deer. It's awesome.
So if a viewer wanted to watch that, I forget, is it episode 6 Max or 5? Is it 7? It's like in that little
5.
run. It's in that little run, right?
Yep, I think it's 5, right? I think it's 5.
Okay.
I think Grant killed that deer on the river farm. Bob, I think he killed that in episode 3 or 4. So, and then mine's like either 1 or 2 after that. So I think I'm 5, and some of those other ones early might be episode like 2 or 3 or 4.
Gotcha. Okay. As we're kind of chugging along here, you talked kind of about how you got wrapped up in video production in the first place. You took that big jump. You made that gamble. In your opinion, I kind of think I know what your answer is going to be to this, but I'm still ready to hear you give it nonetheless. What do you believe the most important piece of outdoor production is, in your opinion, Max? Do you think it's more so that emotion? Do you think it's that storyline? Do you think it's the cinematography, the way it's shot, or the quality of the animal? And, you know, if you wouldn't mind telling why you believe what you believe, that would be awesome as well.
Yeah, and, you know, I think that question kind of pertains to the production specifically. You know, I think I'm able to give a more broad answer because I've seen and I've been a part of so many different productions, you know. Mm-hmm. Like whether it's the difference between Midwest Whitetail and the Lindsay Way, like the style that every show has, I think caters to a different answer to that question. I think personally, one of the reasons that our fan base is not only somewhat large but extremely loyal is that we do our best job to tell a story and a progression of a story. So for our show, for Midwest Whitetail's brand, I would say the story is by far the most important aspect of a production, just because it just gives each person something to cling to. You know, I remember watching the Daily Blog series all through high school and college. I just couldn't wait every morning to get up and see what Bill saw that previous afternoon. You know, and that just telling that story year long. You know, he has a hunt one day, and then he says he's going back in after him the next day, and it just, whether that just drives the traffic, but really just gives a viewer something to cling on to and a reason to come back. I mean, I think that's huge. But I think some other shows might have a different answer. You know, my guilty pleasure, and I think it has a lot to do with being a Georgia boy growing up down there. I'm as big of a Michael Waddell fangirl as you'll ever see ever. I mean, I have not actually had the chance to do anything more than shake his hand, and never shared camp with him, and hope that's a bucket list thing. But you take a show like Bone Collector, or you know, now they're kind of getting into the digital realm. You take a show like Bone Collector where you put those big personalities together. You know, Waddell, T-Bone, Nick Munt. I've had a chance to spend some time with T-Bone back in high school, and you know, you take some big personalities like that and you put them all together, and I think that changes your answer. It would change my answer to that question. You know, I think that kind of show caters to a little more maybe goofy. You know, they still kill giants and they still have solid quality production, but maybe that show caters more to maybe their strong suit is the personalities behind the camera. So it's all a little bit different. I do appreciate that Midwest Whitetail as a group, and especially the main core guys are not after the. I think the young kids are calling it clout these days. I'm not a big slang guy, but we're not after the
Sure.
the personal benefit. We're not after the followers. You know, what we do best, our forte is telling the stories, and specifically the stories a lot of times of these specific deer. Whether it may be a person's season journey, but a lot of it's catered toward the deer. So I think at the root of every show is a different driving factor. Ours just happens to be the story and the deer behind them, where some other ones may be the people.
And I just want to touch on really quick that another thing that I really, really, really enjoy about Midwest Whitetail, one of my favorite things about the show is something you didn't say. And in that spread of time, number one, your storyline's incredible. I mean, you guys are literally going day by day through deer season from start to finish, like you said, all the way from when your Kentucky guys are hitting the woods early, all the way through, you know, January, possibly February, to when the remainder of your staff is locking it up for the year. So I think that is, number one, amazing. And my, what a logistical nightmare that must be for Josh to handle all that footage. Holy smokes. But the thing that I think is awesome is that you guys go above and beyond. And I mean, every year your staff, at least the stuff that you're showcasing on the Chasing November series, in my opinion, you guys pass a lot of what I would consider good and some even great deer. When Mike passed Prodigy last year, in my living room, I was literally screaming at the TV. My fiance was asleep, and I was screaming, oh my God, what are you doing? Like, I was genuinely, like, upset when he passed him for the first time. I was thinking, holy shit, like, oh my God, that is one of the biggest deer I've ever seen be filmed. That's insane that he's not even thinking about drawing back right now, because this dude believes in his heart of hearts he's 4. You know, like, that's insane to me that he has the rocks to just watch a 200-inch deer graze. And it's not like, oh, he was at 80 and I grunted and rattled and that was my encounter. No, he had him at like 20 yards. He could have shot him that time. And, you know, the quality of the deer that, like, Jared's passing and the quality of deer that your staff are passing, like, every year when I watch Midwest Whitetail, of the 24, 25 episodes you guys lay down, I'm expecting roughly, you know, 10 to 12 booners be shot. And, you know, over the last several years, you guys have popped a 180s, 190s, 200 caliber deer. So you guys are killing giant deer. And I feel like that is something that's totally underrated about you guys, is that you guys are just tagging giants, in my opinion. And I think that's awesome that you're sticking to your guns. So
yeah, I hate to leave that part out, you know. I think that is also obviously a really big draw. And a lot of it has to do with, you know, you talk about Mike passing Prodigy, and, you know, it's funny you bring that up, because all of us remember him sitting around after that just like kicking himself, or just more or less, maybe he wasn't upset that he passed him, but he was just, every day he's like, I'm just praying that deer doesn't come by again, so he doesn't have to make that choice again.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is our region dependent. I mean, this little hub and the southern part of Iowa is just unreal. I mean, I try not to get personally hung up on the size of the deer, because growing up in Georgia, I mean, I was actually very fortunate, especially because I was very young and new to hunting, and I'm more or less ignorant of a lot of things. I mean, I harvested some really nice bucks in Georgia, you know, one had 130s, 140s, and actually killed one that grossed over 50 with my bow, but it is crazy, especially being a lot of times the guy behind the camera. If that's what really right there takes you back to your childhood, or even just takes you back to reality, that you're right. I mean, there's people chasing giants for sure. I mean, even watching Lee Abraham kill that deer GQ last year, that I think that deer pushed, it was right just like an eighth or two shy of 204.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
giant.
I remember watching that deer with Josh. Josh and I spent a lot of time on his farm, whether it just be doe hunting or helping Lee run the cameras out there. I remember we saw that deer several times riding around, and just the fact that they were passing him the year before when he was all over mid 180s. You're right about that. I mean,
it's incredible. It's incredible.
Giants, but I try not to harp on it, and I think a lot of us are the same, because we almost feel guilty. I mean, I talk to I remember I still keep up with a few of my really good buddies from home, you know, and every year it's like I just almost hate. I feel guilty because you know they'll send me a couple pictures when bucks start showing up, and they're like, "Dude, check out this," and it's like, I mean, it's really great deer for Georgia, and then they're like, "What do you got?" It's almost like that guilty text I got to send back, like, "Yeah, dude, I've got a 3 over 170."
Yeah, it's crazy how different of a world it is regionally, especially when you're chasing whitetails in the United States, and just what the difference of 200 miles in any given direction can actually do to hunting, you know, or, you know, just 5 miles in any given direction when you're out of one of those big buck producing pockets. It's insane how micro regional it is. And I just think, like I said, I feel like it is so underrated, and you don't have to beat your chest. I'll beat your chest for you. I will speak on your behalf and pump you guys up, because it's refreshing to know, like, when I flip on Midwest Whitetail, like, these guys are going after world-class deer on almost a regular, consistent basis, and of these 24, 25, 26, however many episodes that I'm going to watch, because I'm watching every single one, you know, I'm going to see a guy that has got multi-year history potentially with a deer, which is something I really like seeing. You're going to kill a big, you know, giant quality deer, typically over the age of 5 or older, that is. And I just think it's awesome to see that you guys aren't just out there thumping everything that moves, so that way you can, you know, fill up your episodes, or, you know, shoot a TV deer or whatever you call it. Yeah,
I think it's also extremely, now that you say it, I think it's more underrated than the quality of the deer. I think is just the skill level. I don't know any other way to put it. The skill level that a few of these guys out here possess, you know.
I think Jared Mills is one of the most talented whitetail hunters in the whole country, Max. And
I'd be willing to say that he may be.
He
may be the best. I mean, I really believe that you set him anywhere, public, private, doesn't matter. I really believe that he has, especially you take away a camera guy and an extra stand. I mean, I'd be terrified of what he would do. Like, he may be the best bow hunter in the country. I mean, a lot of people have more knowledge and more experience, but as far, you know, maybe Mark Jury has the more time, you know, behind the food plotting expertise, but there may not be, you're right, there may not be a better hunter. And Mike Reed right there beside him, man, the amount of work, I love that we do get to run a semi-live show and release an episode every week. But it would seriously blow a lot of people's mind how much stuff doesn't make the cut for that week's episode. I mean, the effort that somebody like Mike Reed or Jared puts in, it's insane. It drives me up the walls when I see any kind of comment from somebody saying, you know, somebody put him in that stand. Like, Jared and Mike are the two, they have full-time jobs on the side. So for them to put in the amount of hours in the field, prepping these farms, finding these deer, patterning these deer, it blows my mind every single year. I mean, they are truly talented hunters, very smart, but the effort level, I mean, that's extremely underrated. It's fun getting to just run around following Jared with a camera, because every time I come home, I'm learning something every time I'm out filming. Whether it be habitat management or following around, hunting through the season. I mean, you just talk about a guy who just is like, he's never satisfied, you know, like killing that giant off the ground last year. Not that he wanted to, but there's a lot of people that probably wouldn't even have got that aggressive. So it's really cool to learn from some guys like that are that knowledgeable and really just that talented. I used to think a little bit that it was luck, but I've since then been turned.
Yep, I believe that if you do it on a consistent basis like those two are doing it, it's got to be tied to your work ethic. It's got to be a lot of mentally the right decisions and a lot of preemptive thinking about how you're going to put yourself in a position of the best odds possible. And I think those two guys embody that. And like I said, I truly think that Jared in particular is one of the most underrated whitetail hunters in the country. I think if there's an argument for, you know, your top whitetailers in the country, I can definitely see him being in the argument for being in the top 10, if not the top 5. And I just, I love watching particularly every episode that he's on, and that episode last year when he just got aggressive on that, monster slob, eye level on the ground behind that bush. If he would have shot that deer then, I mean, I would have absolutely lost my mind. I think that encounter is probably one of the most insane encounters ever captured on film. Just absolutely one of my favorite Midwest whitetail moments of all time.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I remember Josh and I were a few hours away hunting some public down in southern Iowa, like way southern Iowa. I remember seeing that, and immediately I called Grant because it's funny, like most people would probably call Jared and be like, holy crap, dude, you saw that big deer. But I just wanted to just figure out what the heck Grant was thinking or feeling, because he's like, that moment for the people that don't know. I mean, Grant, camera guy's 200 yards away. There's a 200 some odd inch deer, 15 yards from Jared, and it's the most epic angle you could ever have. And so for me, being a camera guy at the time, I'm like, I don't really care what Jared was thinking. I know he was nervous. I want to know what Grant was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, he was about 10 seconds late from just sending an arrow right through the boiler room of that deer, and that would have just been so incredible. Eye level on the ground from a ghillie suit behind a bush. He saw him. He's like, yeah, that deer's not coming any closer. I'm going to go to him. That was awesome to see, and to see him almost get it done. I mean, that's pretty talented that he was able to get over there without spooking that deer or alerting it in any way and get into a position where he was just in the ball game. I mean, a whitetail that's that large, that old is just a different animal, and props to him for getting that close. So kind of going back to the production side of things, Max, when somebody says the phrase production value, what does that mean to you?
I think probably right off the top of my head, the first thing that comes to mind every time I hear like production value, I mean, for me, it just is like brings you back to thinking about the time invested in a specific production. I've said it a couple times, but and you've even mentioned it truly is a semi-live is a different animal, and digital in general is a different animal.
Yeah.
But it's so rewarding, delivering this content to people so quickly is just so rewarding. Like I can't imagine ever going back. Like I mean, I've never actually had the Outdoor Channel on television, and I've already said I love Bone Collector and a lot of those classic shows that everybody grew up watching. But there's just something to be said about semi-live and the ability to just catch things during the season or short thereafter. Social media has become such a huge thing that most likely when a deer goes down, if Jared were to kill a deer, it's out there on social media. Like if we weren't semi-live, that would kill people to have to look at that and not see the story. So the value behind it, at least from a viewer's standpoint, is the value is that it's just so, you just got it right there at the fingertips most of the time within a day or two. From our end, I mean, me now being on the inside, production value maybe for me even has a whole different meaning. I mean, I think that there's only a few people in the world or even maybe in the country that can do what we do, not because they don't hold the ability or the talent level. I mean, the grind is insane. I mean, it truly is unreal. I mean, this time of year it's kind of almost like it's pretty easy. I'm sleeping 8 hours if I want it. I mean, I plenty of time to eat 3 meals a day, but truly when we're in the season, I mean, man, there's all-nighters being pulled almost on a weekly basis. You're talking about your average, night of sleep goes down, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours, almost, multiple nights in a row, especially if the hunting's good. But as much of a grind as that is on a value side for me on the inside of this production career, the production value behind what I'm able to do and what I've figured out that you can push your mind or your body to do in that kind of realm of craziness, the value is insane. I mean, there's just not many people there's plenty of people talented enough. There's not that many people willing. So production value from my abilities or Grant's abilities or some of these other guys in the semi-live realm I mean, nobody really desires to do what we do. So the value's there. I mean, we can almost, from a production company standpoint, can ask for what we want, you know, pricing wise, or we have that leverage, you know, over almost anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Especially right now in today's age, you know, I'd get my butt kicked by a lot of the guys, say at Sub 7 or Heartland Bowhunter, that produce so many shows that air the following year. I mean, I've been keeping up with the episodes of the Lindsay Way television show that have been, you know, released.
Yeah.
The edits are sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, they're awesome. And that guy, he'd kick my, I don't know if it's not Hunsucker, but Brandon Franklin over there editing that.
Mm-hmm.
He kicked my tail in a contest, but if I can put together, you know, some of these hunts in 3 or 4 hours, and they're still of decent quality. I wouldn't say high quality, but of extremely decent quality. And so that value behind that is, it just makes us so appealing to, from a production side, at least.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Just that gratification, you know, we talk about the nature of the world we're living in and it being instantly gratifying, and there's lots of things like that, whether it be social, or they say you get that little hit of dopamine when you get a like on a picture or something like that. But people certainly like that, and certainly like that gratification of being able to see the deer that you guys posted the following evening dead on the dirt, and the complete story, or at least an abbreviated version of the story, the following day. So from an editor standpoint, the thing that people probably don't see you and Grant doing behind the scenes are that you guys are going hunting all day. During the rut, you're going hunting all day. You're probably sitting all day, or you're moving around to go and sit in a different spot. And then you're taking that footage, you're putting it, you're uploading it, you're getting it into your bin, you're orchestrating a timeline, and you're coming up with a high-quality production, most likely starting after 9 p.m. at night when you guys are getting home from hunting. You know, and you're cranking on that till midnight, 1, 2, 3, taking a 1 or 2 hour snooze, and then immediately getting back up at 3:30 or 4 to go hunting again. And that can just be absolutely exhausting. So I definitely feel for you, man. I know how hard that can be. I've tried to do it a couple times, and it's an absolute grind. So I feel you for that, but I know that your viewers love it. So speaking about those viewers, and you specifically as the end user of your content, Max, what's your number one favorite moment that you have ever personally captured and laid down on film? It could be you as the subject in front of the camera, or you as the guy operating the camera behind it, but what's your favorite moment when a camera was involved?
Man, that's tough to pick a camera. You know, you'd be amazed that in 1 year the amount of footage that one person can take, and then you multiply that for me by 3. There's a ton of sweet moments. Unfortunately for me, I did not film a buck die my intern year, so it took me until my 2nd year in the production industry to film. You know, I guess I could attach a little story with it. You know, growing up in Georgia seems to be what some may say is like just the hub of a ton of country music, and I'm a huge country music fan. A lot of great guys were coming up while I was in college, one of them being my all-time favorite, Riley Green. Just was an absolute fanboy, love his music still. Last year I got the opportunity to film Riley for about 10 days right off the rip in the season. We started in Nebraska early season, and then some weather was coming through. We scoot boogied down to Kentucky, and first night in Kentucky, I filmed Riley Green kill a stud, like mid 150s, maybe push 160, stud of a deer in full velvet.
That's awesome.
And that was not only was that, it wasn't just insane. I mean, not only is this my country music idol, I mean, icon, just, oh my goodness, I can't even explain to you how much I love the music, but just think he's an awesome dude. And then, so growing up, you know, and then not only to be with him, filming him, just talking it up in the blind and the stand. And then not only that, but then to get my opportunity finally after an entire season and some to film my first buck kill. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I'd have to say hands down, that's my favorite moment, you know. by
Okay.
far. Just the final gratifying moment of getting to take a harvest photo of a buck, and then behind that buck is sitting your country music idol. That's tough to
Yeah.
top.
I can totally imagine that'd be pretty cool. That'd be like me, the equivalent of watching Alan Jackson. You know, I'm an old school. I really like 90s country quite a bit. And
Yeah.
I really like Alan Jackson. That I feel like be the equivalent for me would be watching him kill a deer and just seeing how he reacted to it. So
Exactly, man. It was awesome.
yeah, man, that sounds sweet too. I got to check out his music. Is he kind of on the underground or kind of that outlaw country? One of my buddies from down the street, he likes listening to a lot of that outlaw country, kind of that Cole Wetzel style. But what kind of, if you had to put your finger on Riley
He's
Green, what kind of genre would you kind of pin him into?
not as outlaw as like Cole or some of these other guys, but he's probably in the realm of like a Luke Combs type, a little bit maybe more upbeat, but I'd say he leans a little more classic country than Luke Combs. So I'd say maybe like a cross between Alan Jackson, Luke Combs, like a little more classic than Luke, but a little more upbeat than Alan Jackson. I don't know. I eat it up. I love it.
Sure.
He's got. I think part of it too is growing up. I saw him. I've probably seen him in concert a dozen times, so that makes you really like somebody. I think he's a great performer. But yeah, awesome music. But probably my likeness of him only increased tenfold when I actually met him, and he wasn't a super prideful guy, just an awesome guy. So much fun to hunt with. Like a lot of people inside the industry that you go around filming, especially when you're more on that freelance side, when you're filming some of these people, some of these bigger clients even.
Yep.
A lot of them are just so serious where it's like, oh my goodness, it's tough. You can't really crack a joke, but it was totally the opposite with Riley. We're goofing off the whole time. I got a phone full of Snapchat videos that were just absolutely cracking up. So much fun. It's a lot like hunting with Jeff Lindsay, to be honest. I mean,
yeah,
take a guy who's so known in the industry and can be so professional at times, but you talk about a goofball. Oh, I mean, a lot of people follow him on social media, but oh my goodness, so much fun. I really appreciate those moments, when you're serious, like you're hunting a big deer, or everybody's serious, all the big time whitetailers, but a guy that can kind of take a step back and realize what in the moment what they're doing. I mean, they're out hunting, so it's fun to be with those type of people.
Sure. Your show, Max, whether it be your weekly show, your monthly show, your regional shows, or the centerpiece of your production there at Midwest Whitetail, if you had to sell it, and I mean sell her hard, why should a viewer, if they haven't, and I can't think of anybody that's listening to our podcast right now that doesn't probably love Midwest Whitetail, but why should a viewer watch your show? Go ahead and sell it.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to touch on it yet, and so this is probably the perfect time. I think by far the most unique part of Midwest Whitetail, maybe other than, we do hunt some giants, is the information specifically catered toward teaching that we reveal in the show. I mean, not only is the benefit of semi-live there, but the benefit of having some incredibly knowledgeable guys like Jared, Mike, some other guys, that combination is unbelievable as far as anybody who wants to learn. And everybody, ideally, whether it be hunting or whatever they do, wants to get better. That's always a goal of mine, and should be a goal of everybody's to get better. You can't pair a more deadly combo than semi-live and a show that truly aims to teach. So last week, Jared is talking about poor man style food plots. Lucky enough for the viewer, Jared's not only teaching you the formula to a great 4-man food plot, but you're releasing that episode literally within a week or two in the exact time frame that you need to be out putting in your food plots if that's what you want to do. So it's deadly. I mean, I don't know if you agree or not, but say we're in the middle of November and we're talking about, you watch Jared on a hunt, like calling bucks. A lot of times, if he's trying to teach or offer some advice, and then guess what? That's the time of the year you need to be calling that deer.
Yeah.
So, let alone the quality of our production, I truly have a lot of faith in, and I think a lot of people appreciate. Like you said earlier, we do our best to leave no stone unturned. Whether it be backdating back a lot of these kills back to summer, back to the
Yeah.
prep work that went in, specific food plot, design, location, trail cam, placement, you name it. The
Yeah.
specifics of every harvest are always, there's no stone, like you said, left unturned. So we ultimately do our best to tell the most high quality story, and a lot of it's that we want to give credit to that animal, but also at the same time is every deer is a little different. Whether it be their habitat, their personality, and so if you watch enough of them, I mean, goodness gracious, eventually, somewhere out there right now in our log of episodes on YouTube or wherever is probably a pretty similar story to a buck that every single person's hunting. And if you watch it from that angle of trying to learn something, and there's no way you could leave an episode without learning something new. So, like I said, you pair that the teachability or the aim of teaching in an episode, pair that with semi-live. I mean, it's just that's a winner.
Sure, I completely agree. That especially when you've got guys that are they can back the years of proof and advice up with hard evidence, i.e., photo, video, bucks on the wall. I mean, like I said, I think Jared Mills is one of the most underrated whitetailers in the country, and I've known him for 3 or 4 years, not known him personally, but just through watching Midwest Whitetail, and I just think he's really, really intelligent. So I think he's an awesome whitetail hunter. And kind of speaking on your, production, what are your favorite styles of things to produce? Are you a sizzle guy, a shorts guy, a film, an episodic content? What would you most like to do from a production side, Max?
Yeah, good question. I think I've had an opportunity by now to dabble in just about all of it. I've worked with some productions that you may have to roll a week's or more worth of footage into an episode. So I'd say that's more of your short film style. Those I can't honestly say. I don't know if I have a favorite. They're all so different, and what's fun is being to try your hand at each one. Like little highlight reels, whether it be for our social media or say teasers for an episode, are a ton of fun to make. Like you make them, the shorter a video you make, and if you have a decent amount of footage, they're a lot of fun because you get to just use the best of the best, the best clips, the best sound bites, and all of that. Those are a ton of fun, and it's cool to when you finally release one or you show somebody one that you made. It's awesome to see that you can just watch the look in somebody's eyes. You can see the emotion, and a lot of times that's exactly what you were hoping to. You're trying to draw out that emotion. So those are maybe the most rewarding to me, might be those teasers. It's also a lot of fun to tie an entire story together, like you mentioned, maybe with our main show where it's like backdated footage. Those are so much fun because not only from a production side, you get to make it all fall into place and tie it together, but then you get to put that out there and watch people connect the puzzle pieces for themselves. So they all, I'd say, I don't know if I could pick a favorite. I have not had to edit a wedding ever. Would say that if that's its own category, I'd probably wouldn't be a big fan of that.
Okay.
But single hunts are fun. Obviously kills anytime. Anybody in the production side of the outdoor industry would much rather edit a kill or a good encounter over just a slow hunt. But
sure,
they all have their strong suits, and I don't know if I could pick a favorite.
Oh man, that's a cop out, Max. You got to pick a favorite. Come on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe kills is if that's their own category. Maybe that's my favorite style videos. Kills.
Just making a raw, nasty mashup of a bunch of badass buck encounters.
Yeah. I've been working on the new sponsor reel actually for Midwest White. I've been working on the sponsor reel for the daily blog series these last few days. Those are pretty fun. Yeah, you just love transitions. Those might be getting toward the geeky side of the production, but transitions always like when I see a short film like Yeti films, I think it's Yeti, always has some epic little shorts. And I always find that the ones that just absolutely blow my mind are the ones with sweet transitions. So anytime I have something on my plate, as a production company, we not only do a lot of stuff in the hunting side of the industry, we do a lot of stuff actually. The guys at 41 North on some other stuff. We do a lot of production work for a local brewery.
Oh, that's cool.
Sometimes
I did not know that.
Most of the time I'll do a lot of that. I'll do 6 or 8 videos for them in a year. And so sometimes, man, those are a lot of fun, especially the ones where the blank slate projects. They're mostly short videos that I produce for them. They're usually under a minute. But if they turn me loose with just say they're releasing a new beer and they turn me loose and just say, we don't really have an idea for this, you figure it out. I freaking love that because immediately my gears are turning in my head. Like, oh man, I can do this shot and this shot, and I love transition, so I can get out there and just put some nasty stuff together. It's fun to edit what you film. Is extremely rewarding.
Yeah, I
maybe
totally
that'd
agree.
be my favorite. Maybe it's be a short, but an asterisk beside it, something I filmed. Maybe that'd be my favorite.
Okay, good answer. I can see it, and I agree too. It's daunting if you haven't done it before, and you're like, oh crap, what am I gonna make? But when somebody's like, all right, you just do it the way you want to do it. I find that when it goes like that and I have that creative freedom to do whatever I want to do, it ends up being pretty cool. So
No
I can
doubt.
see why you'd say that. So, well, are you ready for some would you rather questions?
Yeah, I remember you saying we might have to get into those. All right.
Okay.
Fire away, I guess.
Okay, so the first one's not really a would you rather question per se, but it is, what is Max Mongrello's electric chair meal? Your last supper.
Buffalo chicken pizza.
Buffalo chicken pizza, huh? From
man.
where?
That came out quick, but dang it, is it that?
Do you like Casey's buffalo chicken pizza, Max?
Dude, I have not had it.
It's pretty good.
I have been.
It's pretty good.
I actually called Casey's Sunday night to order a buffalo chicken pizza, and they told me there's a chicken shortage, so I was deprived of that. There's a couple of good places locally that I've had. There's Mellow Mushroom in Iowa, I think. Is Mellow Mushroom a chain? They got a dynamite one.
Okay. So now I know if I ever run into you at ATA this year that I'll go get you a buffalo chicken pizza.
Oh, man, that's a tough one. There's a couple others in there, but that might take the cake.
Okay. Would you, Max, rather shoot a 160 class whitetail or a 190 class mule deer?
160 whitetail.
Really? No love for the mule deer, huh? That's a big mule deer. A 190, that's a big-ass mule deer.
I know. You know what? I have never been outside. I don't have that drive. I'm almost like worried. My worry going in every deer season that I'm going to eat a tag. So if you told me, and it helps, it helps out from a content standpoint too. So Jared would probably be more pleased with me killing a 160 whitetail than going and spending some time trying to kill a muley.
Okay.
That answer may have came out quick too, but man, I'm just such a diehard whitetail guy. I love the turkey hunt as much as anybody, but man, like I'd rather kill a doe probably than a hog.
Yeah.
I'm sticking with whitetail there.
Okay. What's your favorite fast food restaurant?
Zaxby's.
What? Did you just say something from the South exclusively? I've never heard of.
Yeah, I know. And I know I'm going to just fire a lot of people up that have no idea what that is. But, if you're ever anywhere in South, Zaxby's is off the chain.
Zaxby's?
So it's like kind of like Popeyes.
Oh, nice.
You know, it's a perfect hybrid. If you mix Popeyes and Chick-fil-A, like the quality of Chick-fil-A, like great service, clean dining, like that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You mix that with just the just the meal. Just oh man, Popeyes is awesome, but Zaxby's is like the perfect cross between those two. You get the demon child side of Popeyes and the angel side of Chick-fil-A, and you just mix them right in together.
Okay. How about Taco Bell or McDonald's, Max?
Mm. Mm, mm, mm. Man, if it's hunting season, I can't do Taco Bell. Just that is a huge gamble to take, having to go back to the stand. I'd say McDonald's is a safer bet, and I do love a freaking Big Mac. Maybe once or twice a year. Oof.
So you're gonna go with McDonald's, keeping it
I'm
safe.
gonna go with McDonald's there. Yeah, you just can't take the gamble if I've got to sit all day or something. Oh, you
Okay.
can put yourself in a real straitjacket if you go and just pound on some Taco Bell. Jeff Lindsay was a huge advocate of hopping out quick for lunch to get Taco Bell, and it always was a terrible idea. Every time we looked like we'd be up there cramping, farting on each other. It was terrible.
He's a smart man. He's got good taste. Shout out to Jeff Lindsay for loving Taco Bell.
Yeah.
I love it too. This one's kind of interesting because you have already done it. But Max, if you had to pick one new state to move to hunt in, what state would that be?
Ooh, so move from Iowa?
Yeah, which is tricky because most deer hunters want to move to Iowa. But if I had to pigeonhole you into taking a different state, which one would it be?
Yeah, I might have to say Kansas there. I hunted a ton. Georgia, if you've ever been to Georgia or even a lot of areas in the Southeast for the most part, there's so much timber. It's so difficult to hunt. It's just so dang difficult because if you got 1,000-acre property, the odds of it being 800 or more in timber are really good. Mm-hmm. Then you move to Iowa where you got a pretty good mix of woodlots to ag fields, and it's just so much easier to hunt. But I bet Kansas is probably pretty. There's a lot less wood as far as the places I've seen in Kansas. I think it'd be a lot of fun. I'm gonna have to go to Kansas.
Okay. Would you rather kill a 140 with a 10-inch drop or a 160 mainframe with a 4-inch drop? So basically a 150 with a really long drop or a 164 with a shorter drop?
Yeah, the shorter drop for sure.
So you're into that big frame then, huh?
Yeah, I've got a deer right now, actually, that was on last week's show. That's like probably 160, 170 with only a little bitty drop, but I don't think I'd want them I don't want them any smaller in the frame just for a little longer drop. I'd count a 1/2-inch drop at this point. Never killed one. This is the first one I've ever had on camera.
That's awesome.
If that thing even teardrops just a tad, I'm counting it.
One of my guys on our end, he shot a deer with a 16-inch drop tine. Ended up going
my goodness,
175 with a 16-inch drop. So yeah, that deer was insane. Listen to this shit, Max. So in the deer season of I don't know how he does it, but in the deer season of 2016 going on 17, he shoots a 169 with a 7-inch drop that he calls Phantom. Shoots him on the run, tips him over at like 25 yards with a muzzleloader. From the ground, no blind. Fast forward to 2 years later, going into the deer season of 18-19, he shoots this 175 with a 16-inch drop. Shoots him at 40 yards, no blind, on the ground with a muzzleloader. The deer runs at them, tips over at like 20 yards. Runs at them and tips over at 20 yards. It's insane. And I don't know how he does it. I don't know how somebody gets that lucky to not just kill one deer with like that nice of a drop tine and that big of a frame, but he's killed 2 of them now in the span of like 3 or 4 years. So I don't know. He must just have a lucky rabbit's foot shoved somewhere, or maybe a horseshoe he's carrying around in his pocket. But it's pretty epic stuff. So if you ever want to check out that,
you're gonna have to send me those pictures. That's unreal.
Yeah, I'll send you the YouTube link. It's on our channel. It's season 5, episode me. It's like one of the last couple episodes. It's called Uh-Oh. So that's what he named the deer. And yeah, it was nasty. So your bucket list hunt, Max, what would that animal be? The other day I had somebody on, Alex Nadolski goes, well, a 200-inch whitetail and a 190-inch whitetail and a 180-inch whitetail, and he just kind of kept thumbing them off, and he was just totally not interested. I said about every animal that I could have, and Alex was just not budging. He just wants to kill giant whitetails. So is that kind of the same for you, or do you have a different animal at the top of your bucket list?
Oh, man. That is... Yeah, to be honest, I don't know if whitetail would even make the bucket list if I had, you know, the money, the resource to do it. Man, yeah, I don't even know if whitetail's in there. I feel like you could... Bucket list is not even maybe the specific deer is in like a giant, but there's a lot of other things that a lot of people don't have the opportunity. I'm like dying to do a helicopter hog hunt.
Nice.
I have worked in firearms all through a couple years in high school and all through college. I'm a huge gun nut. And I mean, we can't even really gun hunt or rifle in Iowa. I just love guns, firearms, ARs, handguns, whatever. I think there's nothing more enticing for me than getting in the dang helicopter and just lighting some hogs up. And I hate hogs too. Growing up in the South, you
grow a hatred for them.
Hatred for them. So maybe that might be it. And then an Argentina dove hunt. I'll do both of them eventually, but those are up there. I don't know who wins that battle, but whitetail, crazy enough, doesn't even make my list.
Okay, fair enough, Max. What is the final question here I have for you tonight is, what is something that the world doesn't know about Max Mongrello?
Man, I see why you didn't send me that one before. I'd have way too much time to think about it. That is so tough.
Keep thinking.
The world does.
I could let you slide out of this one easy, and you could tell me the name of your high school mascot.
High school mascot.
Yeah. For me, it was the Blue Bullets, Knoxville, Illinois, home of the Blue Bullets. Kind of an interesting mascot.
Was your high school mascot?
Yeah, that was my high school mascot. And then my undergrad mascot was a Viking.
Maybe I can knock this question out all in one time. I don't even know what the heck you'd call it, and this is terrible once I finish this statement, but my high school mascot, I don't know what his name was or what, but I was a high school mascot a couple times, so maybe I hit that all in one.
Oh, that is something the world doesn't know. So you were the guy in the suit.
Yeah, and you weren't allowed to tell anybody because nobody wanted to, like whoever was in charge, the principal, didn't want anybody to know because he knew that other people would want to do it. So I got asked to do it a few times. It was freaking fun. You just go absolutely nuts with a big old suit. Maybe I just hit that all in one. That wasn't my... Man, that's not very interesting, but...
I probed you and got a little spark there. Got extremely lucky. I don't feel like lots of people would have been their own high school mascot, but that is something interesting.
Yeah. I might have just taken the cake right there, 2 in 1.
All right, Max.
And it wasn't even that embarrassing, which is huge.
Yeah, that is huge. I just saved you. You owe me one now. It's official.
Yeah. 100%.
Any last parting words before we jump off of here tonight to leave with the listeners? Whitetail season's coming down the pipe. Any last words of wisdom?
No, man. I hope everybody out there is staying safe. That's the biggest thing. Staying safe out there and enjoy it, just like hopefully all of us are going to do.
All right. Well said, Max. Stay safe. Enjoy deer season. And thank you again for making the time to do this with me tonight. I really appreciate you. And, yeah, I think people are going to be really interested to find out who one of the men behind the Midwest Whitetail curtain is making the machine run. So I do appreciate you taking the time to sit down and have this conversation with me. So until next time, I will talk to you later, my friend.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Max. Talk to you soon. All right, that's straight from the horse's mouth, Mr. Max Mongrello. And I did look up the episode that he was in. And if you go to YouTube right now and search up Midwest Whitetail, Midwest Whitetail, and you click on their icon there, and you go down a bit, and you go to playlists over on the right, and you go to Chasing November Season 6. It is number 5 in the playlist, and the title of the episode is E5: Max's Permission Farm Brew, Wisconsin Success. So if you want to view the guy that we're just talking to, this guy that we're just having this conversation with from Midwest Whitetail, Max Mongrello, you guys can go check out Midwest Whitetail's channel, and Season 6, Episode 5. That's going to be... that's going to get you a good opportunity to see Max slay an absolute hammer of an Iowa whitetail. So, our season trailer has recently dropped last week, 7 p.m. on our YouTube channel. And coming soon, this next week, on this Saturday, our elk film dropped. So, all of our new episodes are going to be dropping on Saturday and Wednesday for this season. The Whitetail Legacy podcast has got a badass new project that we're unveiling with, they had the idea. They said, hey, let's put something together. Let's wheel up a little intro and let's do a series that no one's ever done before. So they did their 16 Days Straight on Public Land series last year, which was awesome. And this year they are doing an all-new series called The One That Got Away. And that is going to be coming to our YouTube channel really soon. They've got some really big-name guests that they've had in there for that series. That's going to be absolutely awesome. Some of those guests include Dan Infalt, Don Higgins, John Eberhart, Chancey from Whitetail Adrenaline, Justin Hollinsworth from Whitetail Addictions, and Scott Buckley from Iowa. So that's going to be an awesome series. On Wednesday, we're airing our Last Breath Lives this week, and that's pretty much it for this episode. So we will see you next time with a brand new Huntroversy. Until then, big shout out for Max coming on, Alex Sandulski from The Rise coming on, and Sam Ubel coming on from Chase Nation. And we will see you with the original gang back in here the next episode for episode number 115 next Monday morning at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Till then, don't waste it.